Hey, Boomer.
Hey, good morning. You know what? I could tell an uptick in your guys' emotions this morning just listening to you check in this morning. I know you guys are all excited. The Patriots are coming out of the abyss. Bob Kraft does what everybody expected him to do, and it's a new day in New England.
It was like Christmas a few weeks later yesterday when we got the news.
Well, not for everyone. Unfortunately, Jerod Mayo and his family are going to have to go through this, and I call this street cred for coaches. You know, you got to get fired before you end up finding your way again, and I'm sure Jerod will be able to do that somewhere along the line, and who knows, maybe in a couple of years, through 2 or 3 years, he'll be back on the sidelines as a head man somewhere else, but that is the collateral damage of this business. But I think if I'm Mike Vrabel, I'm getting the band back together. When is Josh McDaniels going to be hired?
You think he's probably the guy?
Yeah, why wouldn't he be? I would hope that they have a good relationship. And, you know, obviously Mike was a player when Josh was coaching, but I think he would respect Josh as a coach. And look, they got they got 2 prized rookie quarterbacks, by the way, not just one. And it would be great, I would think. But again, I don't know the relationships. I don't know how a former player who is now ascended to be the most popular coach in Vince Lombardi is, you know, I don't know the relationship with the offensive coordinator who used to be a coach when he was a player.
You know, fans know Mike Vrabel certainly for what he did on the field here. Somebody who worked with him in Cleveland this past season called him one of the most brilliant minds they'd ever worked with. What do we get from Mike Vrabel as a head coach here?
Well, a lot. You get a lot. You get instant credibility. You get a guy that's in the Patriots Ring of Honor. You get a guy that's won 3 Super Bowls. You get a guy that's played in over 200 games. You know, what I would consider Mike, I think he made 1 All-Pro team. Maybe that was back in 2007 when I think the whole Patriots team made the All-Pro team. But what you get is you get a football lifer, man. You get a guy that is neck deep in everything and all things football, and so much so that he was actually on this Browns sideline after he got fired from the Tennessee Titans, which most coaches wouldn't be doing. So I think you get instant credibility. You know, the other thing too is look, he's got the look. I mean, every owner in the NFL would love to have a guy that looks like that has the presence of Mike, and it just fits. It's too perfect. And as a matter of fact, I mean, you know, the Jets wanted him in the worst way. And could you imagine, Bob Kraft would have the norovirus for the next 3 years if that ever happened. So he dipped into his wallet, and he spent a lot of money, and he paid off a lot of guys. And here we sit, and he's got the guy he wants. And I think if you're a part of the Patriots family or the Patriots nation, you got to be stoked this morning.
Well, I did see Rex Ryan say yesterday he can't wait to get the opportunity to kick his ass twice a season.
You know, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. It's just not going to happen. He's going to have to do it personally, not with his team.
No sexy Rexy in New York Puma.
No.
If you're a player in that locker room and there was so much turmoil last year, it seems like, what does a guy like Mike Vrabel bring to that locker room, especially these football players, when he walks in that door?
Well, Wiggy, you remember Taylor Lewan, right? The big offensive tackle that they drafted down there in Tennessee, and he gave an interview about Mike Vrabel and what to expect if you're sitting in that locker room. It sounds a lot like Bill Belichick. It sounds like sit up straight, take the hats off, take the glasses off, leave the phones out of the meeting room, get your asses together, and we're going to go out and we're going to go to work. And you know, that's probably I think Jerod had a lot of that early on in the season. Then as you lose, things start falling apart. That's not going to happen with Mike Vrabel, especially with the amount of money they have for free agents this offseason. So I think, you know, he's going to walk in there. It's immediate credibility, and you better, like as Taylor Lewan said, you better have your head on a swivel. So that kind of gives you the idea of the type of coach he is. And, you know, he's a little bit old school, but I think he also can connect with players. And I'm sure he's going to be talking a lot about his own successes in New England, to the point where I think a lot of players probably get sick of it. But, I mean, if I had that success, damn, I'd be running around with my resume too.
Is passing on Ben Johnson a mistake?
I just don't think that was a great fit for New England. I really don't. I mean, this is the absolute perfect fit. I don't like how they went about it. It's completely obvious and transparent that these interviews with Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton were a total sham, and that's a whole nother story maybe for another day. But I guess if you are a part of the minority coaching group, if you are somebody who falls under that category, until you all come together and say, we're not going to do stuff like this, then it's going to continue to keep happening. I don't know what it would like to be going into an interview knowing that I'm not getting the job, and the guy that I'm talking to across the desk is a guy who's just using me to fulfill some sort of quota or protocol that just doesn't seem genuine to me. And I think that's a real problem. I really, really do. But at the end of the day, Bob Kraft has done so much for so many. I don't want to ever question, his right to hire who he wants to run his billion-dollar franchise. So I do agree with the guy that he got the right guy. I just don't like the way that he had to go about getting it.
Is that why you think guys like Aaron Glenn turned down the opportunity to interview in New England?
100%. 100%. They're not stupid. A lot of these agents, that represent the coaches, have a number of these coaches. I mean, it's like everybody's sleeping with each other in the NFL at one point in time. So they all know what's going on. They all understand the kind of the realism of what's happening and whether or not they should be going into interviews. So, yeah, there's no question that Aaron Glenn said no. If he did say no, I don't know if he did or not, but if he did, Courtney, then I would say he knew exactly who they were going to hire.
Jerod Mayo was fired while his family and the families of other coaches were all there waiting for them. Mike Reese reported this weekend that Robert Kraft was asked about the timing at the team meeting on Monday. Is that doing Jerod Mayo dirty in your mind, Boomer?
I'm not internally there, and Jerod played there. He made a lot of money as a player. He's got, short-term comfort because, he is a coach, so they have all guaranteed contracts. So whatever money that Robert Kraft was paying him, he's making it. So I went through this with my buddy Frank Reich. Did Jim Irsay do it to him in Indianapolis? Did David Tepper do it to him in Carolina? And I was talking to Frank the other day. He just bought a 50-acre spread down in Greensboro. So it's not like, the reality is the money is there. But getting fired or getting cut or released as a player or as a coach, it's still the human part of it is there, and you got to try to respect that. The interesting thing is, it's just like reading all the ex-players who are both teammates of Jerod Mayo and Mike Vrabel, and all these ex-teammates are all in Vrabel's camp, it seems like.
Yeah.
Like they're just forgetting that Jerod Mayo was there. But again, this is the reality and the hardcore reality of this business.
Boomer, that's a great way to get into this. Teddy Bruschi was a guy yesterday who went off on the Patriots front office, and a guy that's obviously as connected to the Crafts and the Patriots as anybody else, discussing how they need to clean house with people in the front office that think they know football, but they don't. What do you think the ramifications are what he said, and how much power do you think Vrabel ends up having in player development and roster control?
Well, according to Robert Kraft himself, he said whoever the head coach is, and he knew it was going to be Mike Vrabel, is going to have a lot of power and a lot of say in developing this roster. And, it's interesting. I didn't see Teddy and I didn't hear what he said, but I would take everything that he says as gospel because he knows. He knows the inner workings of the team. He knows what went on there since Bill Belichick has left. I'm sure he was a staunch ally of Bill Belichick, so there's still probably some, anger and residue from, letting Bill Belichick go. But I think that this kind of is a new beginning, a new start, and a start for everybody to feel really good about next year, especially if he does bring back Josh McDaniels. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's more firings to come. And once Vrabes gets in there and he decides, okay, this is where we want to go. The thing about this, when there is a new hire, you got to be careful about the people that you are inheriting. And most times, if it's a general manager or if it's a coach, they are totally cleaning house unless they have a relationship with maybe a coach on the staff or somebody in the front office. Vrabes knows everybody involved, knows all the people involved, and I'm sure that Robert Kraft is going to listen intently to all of his recommendations.
All right, real quick to the rest of the NFL. Was last night the best game of the weekend?
Yeah, 100%. We all knew it was going to be. Every other game stunk. I mean, it was just awful. I mean, a lot of losers coming out of this weekend. Justin Herbert, Mike Tomlin, Russell Wilson. They all look bad. Jordan Love looked bad. Jalen Hurts wasn't great, but the Eagle defense and running game kind of camouflaged him getting back into the mix. I would say that Buffalo with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, both of those guys look great. They showed their MVP chops, and next week, 6:30 on CBS is going to be awesome.
What a game that is going to be, and I really don't care either way. I am ABC, which is anyone but Chiefs, and so I could care less who it is, but that's going to be a great football game.
I think it's going to be fantastic, and it's going to be fun. Washington's got to go into Detroit, and you got to see whether or not Jaden Daniels can do it again on the road. I mean, are they the chosen team? I don't know. He's pretty exciting, but I think Detroit is the chosen team. I think America wants the Lions in the Super Bowl against the Bills. That's what I would guess would be America's choice.
Yeah.
But then again, what do I know? I've only been around for about 40 years covering this stuff.
Is Mike Tomlin, is he secure when it comes to his job?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, 100%.
What about,
you're going to hear a lot of noise about trading for him or them. That's Steeler fans, number one, are frustrated because they're not winning playoff games. So you'll hear a lot from the Steeler Nation in that regard. But I'm just telling you, the Rooneys aren't people that just, overreact to everything, even though that wouldn't be considered an overreaction in some people's eyes. But in the Rooney's eyes, they signed him to a 3-year contract extension. So he still has 2 years left on his contract.
Puma, but I don't get, how is it? I was with Mike Tomlin in Minnesota. I think he's a great guy, great coach. But when you go 6 straight years of getting bounced from the playoffs, it's been 8 years. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're always a good team. They're always there. But when do you as an ownership group say, okay, the guy we got, he can get us there, but he's just not getting us over that hump?
Well, I think they realize they need the quarterback. And I know at the end of Ben Roethlisberger's tenure there with Mike Tomlin, they weren't winning either. And they're in quarterback hell. They're just good enough not to be able to draft a quarterback at the top of the draft. So I just think that, could they go after Aaron Rodgers next year? They're going to need another stopgap. I don't necessarily know that they're going to bring back Russell Wilson, depending on contract demands and things of that nature. But the Rooney family is probably the most stable franchise in the entire NFL. They just do it their way. Nobody's going to force them into making moves or getting rid of people or firing the coach. I mean, they love their stability, and they are very practical when it comes to running their football team. And that's why I believe in my heart that there's no way that Mike Tomlin, this year anyway, is leaving the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Finally, question of the week for Boomer, brought to you by McFarland Energy, the region's most dependable provider of home heating oil delivery and expert HVAC services at McFarlandEnergy.com. Look ahead to next season. Is Tom Brady in the booth calling games, or do his Raiders duties get in the way? Boomer.
That's a really good question, man. I don't know. I think, I heard a very excited Tom Brady yesterday. At least it sounded like he was really into the game. It's a big game, and it's a big market game. Everybody's watching, so maybe it takes that to get the most out of him. But that's a really good question. I'm saying 60-40. I'm going to say yes, he will still be in the booth.
Yeah, because of the 60 part that's $300 million or whatever.
I don't know. Like, if it's any of us on this phone call right now, all of us would be taking the money. So, and working for it like that.
Yeah,
I don't care what anybody says.
I live in the booth.
All right, Boomer.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Boomer. We'll talk to you again.
All right, I'm so glad that you guys are happy again. It makes me feel good.
It's heavenly. It really is. All right.
Take care, guys.
I can't wait for Mondays with Mike.
It's going to be amazing.
Or mic'd up Mondays, whatever we call it. Thank you, Boomer.
All right, guys.